So then you've had 7 years now with Anglo, but you decided, as you mentioned, to join the specialist team within Amax. And how did that come about?
Jack, I met Jack a couple of times. I met him when I was working in New Guinea briefly, but I had much more exposure to him when I was working at Namosi, and so he would regularly come across. He had a huge amount of practical experience. He was just one of those charismatic people that you feel like you would enjoy working for. And so Jack had managed to put together a team that included a couple of my friends at the time. And so I decided that my time was right for a change. What I've observed over the years is that most geologists are ready for, if they're in the same environment for perhaps 5 to 7 years, it's good to be exposed to different people and different geology, different companies. I've never had a problem with that within my own exploration team. And so for me it was probably time to have different exposures to people in geology. So I accepted Jack's offer, and then I went to work in places like Fiji, Indonesia, on and off in Vanuatu. But Jack's team was a program that he himself had designed, and it was called JetRex, which was an acronym for his initials, JET, and exploration. And what that was a systematic way for aerial prospecting. So what Jack would do is hire a high-wing Cesna. He had the aerial photos that he needed for the ground we were going to cover. He had predetermined flight lines over the survey area, and then there were people like myself in the back of the plane busily trying to keep up with him while he was photographing what he called anomalies from the air. This, of course, is way before GPS or satellite imagery, so it was quite challenging but very effective. And then after he'd photographed the anomalies, he used a camera that could take stereo pictures. He made mounted slides in a viewer that then, again, people like myself, Michael Spadafora, John Hammond, and quite a few others, would then follow up on the field. But each one of these anomalies had a data sheet, it had a ranking, it had the anomalous feature, whether it be landslips, prominent outcrops, old workings, whatever. And it was a great way to quickly, systematically prospect an area from the air.
And how did he fix the locations?
Normally it would be with a photograph, and then you could relate that to a topographic map.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, and it took some time to get used to Jack, because he'd get excited, and the plane would be going round and round. If you weren't airsick, you were trying to figure out which orientation you were looking at on the photo, and then you put an X on the photo as well, hoping that was what he'd photographed. But it was very successful. He found Wirrallee like this. He had a major input into the discovery of Sleeper in the US. He had Pajingo targeted for ground follow-up, but were beaten to the punch by Battle Mountain. And I later used this, and I still do in my programs, and it's been quite successful, as I'll explain a bit later.